Chapter 450. Leah remained silent for a moment, then looked up under the moonlight. Smiling as gentle as the moonlight, he said, "No, if you do something wrong, the beast deity will definitely guide you into the dream realm." So, the beast deity also agreed to take me in as a beast pet. Gu Mengmeng tilted her head, feeling a flock of crows flying past her head. Ignoring Leah, Gu Mengmeng fiddled with the snake's scale in her hands and said thoughtfully, "Should I do something out of bounds to verify the information left behind by the previous messenger of the beast deity? After all, the esoterica she left behind is not very reliable." Elvis gently tucked Gu Mengmeng's stray hair behind her ears and asked gently, "What do you want to do?" "Let me help you." Gu Mengmeng blinked her eyes and said, "I don't know. I have no clue at all." Elvis kissed her forehead and said, "It's all right, just let nature take its course. When the day comes when you want something, I will definitely help you achieve it." Gu Mengmeng squinted her eyes and kissed Elvis's face, saying, "Hubby is so reliable." Ellie's scale was kept by Gu Mengmeng, then she turned to look at Ian and said, "Is there anyone unusual among the new batch of people?" Ian's gaze shifted and after sweeping across Elvis and Leah, he said, "Isn't the most unusual one your new lover?" Gu Mengmeng was taken aback and said, "What new lover? When did I have a new lover?" Ian said, "He stands beside you every day with Elvis and Leah. If he isn't a new lover, then what is he?" Gu Mengmeng suddenly realized that Ian was referring to Oritin and said, "He is just sharing meals with us, he isn't a new lover." Ian laughed coldly and said, "This majestic group of people all respects him as Lord Oritin. If he isn't your new lover, why is he being addressed as Lord?" Gu Mengmeng choked. She knew that everyone had misunderstood her relationship with Oritin, thinking that he was her guardian beast, but in reality, that was not the case. Oritin was really just sharing meals with them. If there was anything special about Oritin, it was probably that Gu Mengmeng could always see Elvis's shadow on him, so she was extra concerned about him. That was all. "Sir Ian, now that I call you sir, are you also my new lover?" Gu Mengmeng mimicked Ian's sarcastic tone. Ian took a step forward and sized Gu Mengmeng up. "I'm not willing." "Humph." With that, Ian flapped his wings and flew high, disappearing into the night. Gu Mengmeng was so angry that she waved her fists in the air and said, "Running away after saying what you want, so tasteless." Elvis remained silent. He pinched her chin and turned her little face towards him. He frowned and asked, "You really like Ian?" Gu Mengmeng sighed. "Hubby, you have to change your bad habit of thinking that I have an affair with everyone. I'm not blind. Why would I abandon a tall and mighty man like you and fall in love with that sickly man?" The corners of Elvis's lips curled up slightly, as if he was satisfied with Gu Mengmeng's description. However, he still raised his brows and asked, "Then why are you so angry when he flew away?" Gu Mengmeng said, "If someone punches you and you haven't even retaliated, but the other party escapes, won't you be angry?" Elvis thought about it and said, "Let Leah activate the Blood Alliance to help you vent your anger." The corners of Gu Mengmeng's mouth twitched. "You don't have to be so ruthless. It's not worth it to exterminate an entire tribe just because of a quarrel, and you even have to compensate Leah. Aside from the topic, there is no such thing as a way to satisfy both sides in this world. Leah is the big hole I dug for myself. If I don't forgive him, a part of my precious heart will ache. If I forgive him, a part of my precious heart will be angry. There is no way in this world that can cover everything. All I can do is to try my best. I want to stick to my outline and narrate the story I had originally thought of. I won't be looking at the comments section for a while, so whether you support 1v1 or 1v2, don't threaten me with the word give up. It's just like dating. Quarreling is one thing, but breaking up is another. Don't talk about it casually, because if you talk about it too much, it'll hurt the relationship. I write the story I want to write, for those who like me to read. Chapter 451. The next day, when Gu Meng Meng woke up in Elvis's arms, it was already noon. Leah arranged for everyone to hunt, then demonstrated his culinary skills, letting every family send out the one with the highest level of understanding to learn how to roast meat. Males did not need to eat every day, usually one meal could last for a few days. Moreover, they ate more crudely, so they would directly eat in the wild during the hunt, then bring back the better meat for the females to eat. So in the end, 18 females surrounded a bonfire, watching their partners roast meat for them. Those who could stand in front of the females were all first partners, except for Elvis. Gu Meng Meng turned back to sneak a glance at Elvis, feeling that he was a little pitiful. Everyone else had their whole families gathered together, but only Elvis sat alone beside 7 to 8 packages, holding a beast horn in his hands, carefully using his claws to carve and polish it. He was so focused, like an autistic child. Gu Meng Meng frowned, saying, "You guys eat first, I'm not hungry." Just as she was about to stand up to look for Elvis, Leah grabbed her wrist. Leah sat by the bonfire, one hand holding onto a stick of roasted meat while the other hand held onto Gu Meng Meng's wrist. He looked up at her and said, "Just this once, accompany me." Gu Meng Meng's eyes widened. Gu Meng Meng looked at Leah, then at Elvis. Elvis had already heard the commotion, so he stopped what he was doing and turned to look at her. After a moment of silence, Elvis lowered his head and continued carving the beast horn, as if tacitly agreeing for Gu Meng Meng to stay by Leah's side. But Leah suddenly let go, lowering his head with a bitter smile, saying, "I can't be compared to him, he always thinks for you, but I always make things difficult for you. In the end, I'm too selfish." Gu Meng Meng sighed, but still sat down in the end. Leah looked at Gu Meng Meng in shock, then smiled like a child. Gu Meng Meng pointed at the roasted meat on the fire, saying, "I want to add chili, and brush it with honey. 2 layers, 2 layers. Leah nodded, the corners of his lips curling upwards, his eyes actually a little blurry. Gu Meng Meng turned her body slightly, leaning on Lee's shoulder, holding a bowl of honey water in her hands, drinking it in small sips. Perhaps, in the eyes of others, this was just a pet beast fighting for favor with the first partner, and the first partner was magnanimous enough to let it go. But Gu Meng Meng knew how hard Leah had tried to put on a brave front during his time in solder. Even if his heart was made of stone, it would have been ground into dust by the various incidents in the past. Moreover, he was just a fox demon. He needed warmth, comfort, and someone to support him so that he could breathe. He knew better than anyone else that even if he sat beside Gu Meng Meng and roasted meat for the other females as their first partners, his identity would never change to Elvis. He would always be that Leah who claimed to be a beast pet. Other than protecting him in front of outsiders, Gu Meng Meng would never acknowledge his identity as a beast pet. But even if it was just a dream, he still desperately wanted to grasp this illusory happiness. Just once, let him take care of her openly like a partner, just once would be enough. Chapter 452. Gu Meng Meng laughed out loud as she looked at the panicking crowd. She felt as if she was watching the fire beacons teasing the nobles. After calling out to Elvis, Gu Meng Meng followed the females to the water source. The water source was a lake and the surface of the lake was as smooth as a mirror. The females leaned against the side of the lake to drink water, causing the water to sparkle and ripple. Gu Meng Meng smiled like a child who had succeeded in her prank. She bit on an unknown wild grass, causing the tip of the grass to sway, just like a hooligan from ancient times. Sitting on Elvis's shoulder, Gu Meng Meng could vaguely see something on the surface of the lake. She spat out the lotus leaf in her mouth and patted Elvis's shoulder excitedly. "Hubby hubby, send me to the lake." Elvis did not understand, so he did as he was told. Once Gu Meng Meng reached the lake, she slapped her thighs and dived into the lake. Elvis's chest tightened and his pupils contracted. The scene in front of him overlapped with the scene when she was preparing to leave the lake for the first time because of Leah. His body reacted faster than his brain. Elvis jumped into the lake with a splash, followed by Leah, then Oriton, followed by the crowd who did not know what was going on. One by one, they jumped into the lake. Elvis caught hold of Gu Meng Meng after swimming for a while. He grabbed her wrist and lifted her out of the water. The water was not deep and only reached the top of Elvis's navel. Gu Meng Meng wiped the water off her face with one hand and looked at Elvis, who looked like he wanted to kill someone, in confusion. "What are you doing?" Elvis clenched his teeth. "I should be asking you that, right?" Gu Meng Meng totally did not know why Elvis was angry. She just pointed at a flower in the middle of the lake. "I just wanted to swim over to see if that was a lotus. Why are you angry?" Elvis followed Gu Meng Meng's line of sight and frowned. "No, there's nothing there." With that, Elvis carried Gu Meng Meng and walked towards the shore. At the same time, he gave Leah a look and Leah quietly dived into the lake. He pinched off the lotus from its roots and tore it into pieces. Then, he swam back as if nothing had happened. Gu Meng Meng, who was on the shore, faced Elvis, Leah and Oriton. The three of them surrounded Gu Meng Meng in a triangle. Elvis's face was black, Lee's was cold and Oriton, he had a poker face and looked at everything with the same expression. Gu Meng Meng clearly felt that she did not do anything wrong, but with the three of them looking at her like that, she still felt a little guilty. She mumbled, It's just a flower. If you don't want me to look at it, I won't look at it. Do you have to be so angry?" Gu Meng Meng felt that she did not do anything wrong, but she still felt a little guilty. Was Elvis? Gu Meng Meng looked at Elvis. Gu Meng Meng looked at Elvis's claws that were fiercely clawing at her left chest due to the immense pain in his heart. The 4 bloody marks were a ghastly sight to behold. Gu Meng Meng went forward to hold on to Elvis's wrist and said in a panic, "What are you doing?" "I'm just swimming and looking at the flowers." "Did you have to dig out your heart and commit suicide when you were only 200 meters away?" Chapter 453. Gu Meng Meng was dumbfounded and asked, "What second time? Didn't I just go into the lake?" When Gu Meng Meng said lake, she suddenly understood what Elvis meant. Biting her lower lip, Gu Meng Meng wrapped her arms around Elvis's neck gently and patted his back to comfort him. She said gently, "Silly hubby, do you think I want to go back to the other side through the lake?" Elvis did not say a word and Leah just looked at Gu Meng Meng with a frown. Oriton did not know what had happened, but he was affected by the tense atmosphere and became a little uneasy. Gu Meng Meng sighed and said, "Hubby, what do I have to say to make you believe that I won't abandon you?" Gu Meng Meng pulled her collar with one hand and revealed the proud and aloof black wolf on her collarbone. She used her other hand to caress Elvis's face and said, "Do you remember what I said on the day we mated? Elvis, I love you. I will give myself to you and from now on, I will treat you as my pride, my sky, and my husband. If you don't abandon me, I will stick by your side in life and death. If you are in danger, I will use my life to protect you." Elvis's eyes flickered and he seemed to have a lingering fear, as if he had been reborn after a disaster. Xiao Meng. Elvis could not say anything else and just hugged her fiercely into his arms and locked her against his chest. He wished he could rub her into his body so that he would not have to worry about her suddenly smiling at him and saying, "Thank you for these days," before disappearing into some lake. Gu Meng Meng allowed Elvis to hug her. Even though his strength made her feel pain and made it hard for her to breathe, she did not struggle or resist. Instead, she hugged his sturdy body back gently and patted his back from time to time. "Unless you want to abandon me, I will never leave you. Moreover, we still have 4 sons. Even if I am not a hubby anymore, my sons are still flesh that fell from my body, right? Don't tell me you don't want them anymore. There is no such heartless mother in this world." Elvis frowned and said, "Yes, and they are everywhere." Gu Mengmeng felt very helpless. The females in the beast world had already developed a distorted concept of, I'm the most precious in this world. The word dedication did not exist in their dictionary. No matter what others did for them, it was as if it was expected and expected. So what if it was their own son? Didn't Nina kill her own child with her own hands? Gu Mengmeng said, if the lake water makes you uneasy, then I will never go near the lake again, alright? Elvis remained silent and just looked at Gu Mengmeng silently. Gu Mengmeng continued, I was too excited just now and forgot about the trauma I caused you in the past. That flower was a lotus. If there was a lotus, it meant that there were lotus roots. That was a type of edible food. I was really tired of eating potatoes and sweet potatoes, so when I saw something to eat, I forgot everything else and didn't care about anything else. I really didn't mean to abandon you. I really didn't. Really? Elvis spat out these two words with much difficulty. Gu Mengmeng knew how hard Elvis wanted to believe in her. She also felt that she was a joke, that her trust limit with her husband was actually so low. But what could she do? Who asked her to have a bad credit record? Chapter 454. Elvis then slowly loosened his grip. He felt guilty when he saw the wounds on Gu Mengmeng's fair arms from his hug. He gently touched the red marks on Gu Mengmeng's body and said, Xiao Meng, I'm sorry. Gu Mengmeng chuckled and wrapped her arms around Elvis's neck. She leaned into his arms playfully and said, It's my fault for not being able to give you an absolute sense of security. I will change in the future, so, don't be angry, alright? Elvis kissed Gu Mengmeng's forehead. Only then did he feel his heart start beating again. His blood started to circulate and nourish his entire body. Leah did not say a word and just quietly dived back into the lake. When Gu Mengmeng realized that he was gone, he had already been soaking in the lake for half a day. Where did you go? Gu Mengmeng stood in the shade at the shore and called out to Leah, who had just been called back by Oritin. She looked at his snow-white and fluffy fur that was stained with mud and looked dirty. Leah transformed into a human 3 steps away from Gu Mengmeng. There was only a puddle of muddy water left on the ground. He then elegantly took the beast skin dress from Oritin and wrapped it around himself. Then, he walked to Gu Mengmeng and said, I did not find the lotus root you mentioned just now. Once he said that, Elvis's nerves tensed up again. Gu Mengmeng held Elvis's hand and turned to look at him. She said, Keep your uneasiness and listen to my explanation first. Elvis pursed his lips and nodded. Gu Mengmeng then continued, Where there are lotus flowers, there will definitely be lotus roots. But they do not appear at the same time. I went into the lake just now to confirm if that flower was a lotus flower and not to dig for lotus roots. Because lotus roots can only be found after the flower has withered. Leah and Elvis looked at her doubtfully. Gu Mengmeng really regretted jumping into the lake because of her heartbreak. It was just a moment of recklessness. Now look at how much trouble she had brought to herself. Gu Mengmeng sighed helplessly and said, How about this? You guys can remember this place first. Wait until August or September, which is before winter, then we will dig again. Then, you guys will know if I am speaking the truth or not. Leah patted Elvis's shoulder lightly and said, Mengmeng is the messenger of the beast deity and food concerns the survival of the entire tribe. She would not joke about this. Elvis looked back into Lee's eyes. His hand on her shoulder was clearly trembling. Nodding his head, Elvis said, I know, Xiao Meng will not lie to me, she will not lie to me. Gu Mengmeng said helplessly, Before we dig out the lotus roots, I promise I won't go near the lake, all right? Elvis nodded. They had come to an agreement. The onlookers who didn't know what was going on were all dumbfounded. Shouldn't females do whatever they want? Why did the messenger of the beast deity seem a little timid? Where are the females? Where are the females? Gu Meng Meng stretched out her arms and stood in front of Elvis, asking for a hug. Elvis hugged Gu Meng Meng in his arms without saying a word. Only with such a distance could he feel slightly more at ease. The females didn't dare to eat the roasted meat with chili. In the end, it was all eaten by the males. Then, another round of whose male is least afraid of spicy food competition started inexplicably. Chapter 455. After walking for another half a day, they were already out of the forest. Elvis and the rest chose to rest by a stream, preparing to make dinner for the females before setting up camp here to rest. After all, the females had not eaten their fill for lunch. Although they had eaten some wild fruits along the way, how could the delicate females be so easily appeased? It was just that no one dared to make things difficult for Gu Meng Meng since she did not say anything. But even if the females did not say anything, it did not mean that the males did not feel heartache. Hence, those who went hunting at night were the strongest in the family. Elvis did not go because he knew that Gu Meng Meng did not have a big appetite and would not feel hungry after eating anything. Hence, he let Oriton go hunting while he and Leah guarded Gu Meng Meng closely. At the end of the day, he was still feeling uneasy. Gu Meng Meng did not mind and just let the two fellows follow behind her like tails. Xiao Meng, where are you going? Let me carry you. Elvis knew that Gu Meng Meng understood his uneasiness and felt embarrassed. He could not even give her this little bit of trust. Elvis felt that he was a complete failure as a first partner. But this was the only thing in this world that was his Achilles heel. It made him worry about his gains and losses and be full of ambition. Gu Meng Meng pouted her lips and said, I think I saw a bamboo forest nearby when I came here. I want to see if there are any bamboo shoots. Elvis carried Gu Meng Meng in his arms and gave Leah a signal with his eyes. Leah then secretly whistled and several black figures flew past above their heads. The sky was not bright and everyone else was busy taking care of their own females, so no one noticed the commotion here. Elvis asked, what is a bamboo shoot? Is it also food? Gu Meng Meng nodded and said, yes, bamboo shoots are very delicious. One's life is incomplete without eating bamboo shoots. Elvis remained silent for a moment before asking again, didn't you tell Oriton that one's life is incomplete without eating bird eggs? Gu Meng Meng pursed her lips and dragged out a long mm. Before saying, sigh, your lives are too incomplete. Bird eggs are one part and bamboo shoots are another. Think about it, if you were to return to a time without roasted meat, sweet potatoes and fish, can you still get used to it? Do you feel that your life is incomplete? Elvis remained silent for a moment. In his heart, he really felt that it was still all right. But looking at Gu Meng Meng's passionate eyes, Elvis nodded his head firmly and said, yeah, it's not complete. Gu Meng Meng had a "see, I knew it" expression as she continued, after you guys eat the bamboo shoots and lotus roots, you guys will realize that your happiness index is multiplying. In an era where food was so scarce, every edible food was a precious gift. Haven't you heard the famous saying of Confucius? Not active in eating, mental problems. Let me tell you, Confucius said so many things, but I think this is the most reasonable one. Elvis nodded his head in confusion. At this moment, a huge bird circled above their heads and flew towards a direction after circling 2 rounds. Elvis and Leah exchanged glances before transforming into their beast form, carrying Gu Meng Meng on his back and flying away. Chapter 456. Gu Meng Meng took a step forward and slapped Ian's chest, saying, good man, I didn't expect you to be so capable. Ian frowned and took a step back, saying, just talk, don't touch me. Gu Meng Meng rubbed her hands and said, leader is the one who can find food, I won't touch you if you say so. Gu Meng Meng left Ian behind her and dashed into the bamboo forest, looking carefully at the ground with her big eyes. Luckily she inherited Elvis's night vision ability, or else she would definitely not be able to see anything. Elvis and Leah were at a loss as they did not know what Gu Meng Meng was looking for, so they could only follow behind her and wait for her instructions. Gu Meng Meng walked for more than 10 steps before suddenly stopping and running away. Elvis and Leah did not understand what was going on, so they quickly followed behind, only to see Gu Meng Meng squatting in front of a bunch of bamboos, rubbing her hands and looking at the tip of the bamboo shoot with the exact same expression as a pervert teasing a little servant girl, smiling slyly. Leah went forward and squatted beside Gu Meng Meng, pointing at the small bamboo shoots, asking, "You want to eat this?" Gu Meng Meng nodded, then turned her head to look around. Leah asked again, "What are you looking for?" Gu Meng Meng said, something that can be used as a tool to dig them out." Leah stretched out his hand and pinched the tip of the bamboo shoot lightly, pulling it upwards seemingly effortlessly. Then, the part of the bamboo shoot that was buried in the ground was pulled out. Damn. Gu Meng Meng could not help but shake her head and clap her hands. God knows how deep the roots of the bamboo shoot were buried in the ground, how could it be pulled out with bare hands? Stop. When Leah reached a certain height, Gu Meng Meng suddenly shouted for him to stop. Leah looked at Gu Meng Meng without moving, as if someone had pressed the pause button on his shoulder. Gu Meng Meng pointed at a spot on the bamboo shoot and said, "Come, cut it from here, we only need the top part, there's no need to uproot it." Leah did as he was told and cut the bamboo shoot neatly, then gave it to Gu Meng Meng. Gu Meng Meng looked at the thick and tender bamboo shoot with a lecherous smile. She touched the bamboo shoot's clothes, as if she was taking off a servant's doo-doo. Elvis walked forward and without saying a word, he directly took the bamboo shoot from Gu Meng Meng's hands and took a bite. Then, he started chewing in front of Gu Meng Meng. Gu Meng Meng was shocked. "You eat raw potatoes, sweet potatoes, and now bamboo shoots." Elvis looked at Gu Meng Meng with an expression as if he was eating **tea. He swallowed the bamboo shoot with difficulty and said, "You can dig bamboo shoots, but you can only eat them when I'm still fine tomorrow." Gu Meng Meng was taken aback. She then reacted and asked, "So you have been testing for me all along?" Elvis replied, "Of course you have to try this kind of food that no one has eaten before you can eat it." Gu Meng Meng felt very touched but worried at the same time. She punched Elvis's chest and said, "What if you're poisoned?" Elvis smiled and allowed her to behave wildly in his arms. He said calmly, "I'm very strong, normal poisons can't take my life. Moreover, don't we still have Leah at home?" Gu Meng Meng smiled and said, "I'm very strong." Gu Meng Meng stared at him and asked, "What if Leah can't cure you?" Chapter 457. Gu Meng Meng looked at Elvis and remained silent for a moment. It was undeniable that Elvis's deep love moved her, but accompanying it was a strong sense of unease. Gu Meng Meng wrapped her arms around Elvis's waist and placed her little face on his chest. She said slowly, "You promise not to leave me behind." Elvis hugged Gu Meng Meng back and enjoyed her dependence. "I swear, I will not leave you behind." Gu Meng Meng looked up and met Elvis's affectionate eyes. She raised her eyebrows unknowingly and put on a pitiful expression, saying, "But if you die, won't you be abandoning me?" Elvis leaned over and kissed Gu Meng Meng's forehead. "Silly girl, even if I die, my soul will always be by your side." Gu Meng Meng twitched her lips. "Yeah, your soul will stay by my side and watch how others bully me." Elvis was taken aback. "No, you will never be bullied by others. Even without me, you still have Leah, Ian and the Eagle Owl tribe, Barit and Oriton, and the entire Saint Nazir," Gu Meng Meng said, "but they are not my hubby. Without you, my sons and I will become orphans and widows. It will be very pitiful." Elvis was already very happy that Gu Meng Meng could say that. He did not care if his sons were pitiful or not, but if his death would affect Gu Meng Meng's life, then he really could not die. After a moment of silence, Elvis passed the bamboo shoot to Leah. Leah was a little surprised. He received the bamboo shoot with both hands and looked at Gu Meng Meng with sparkling eyes. Can I help you test for poison too? Gu Meng Meng scooped the bamboo shoot back. Sigh. I feel that I should first make an umbrella. Food should be put aside first. Leah and Elvis were at a loss. They could not understand what she meant. Gu Meng Meng continued. You guys must have stored all the water in your brains because you didn't have an umbrella when it rained. Elvis and Leah looked at each other. Then, they shook their heads in unison. Even Ian, who had been standing coldly at the side, tilted his head slightly. Elvis said, There's no water. Leah said, Yeah, I didn't hear any water sounds. Ian, no. Gu Meng Meng smiled helplessly and said, It's already too deep, I can't shake it out. Elvis thought for a while and said, We've been traveling in the rain since young, so it's not strange for there to be water. Anyway, he hadn't felt any discomfort over the years, so it shouldn't be fatal. So be it if it was deep water. You don't have to make umbrellas anymore. It's so tiring. Generation gap. There must be a generation gap between them. Gu Meng Meng felt that water must have entered her brain, or else why would she discuss this topic with these three fellows? Clearing her throat, Gu Meng Meng returned to the original topic. If you know that something is not poisonous, why must you eat it yourself? Can't you just catch a mouse and feed it? Elvis and Leah were shocked, as if Columbus had discovered a new continent. Gu Meng Meng waved her hands lightly and said, Keep the admiration on your faces. Keep a low profile, keep a low profile. Leah said, All right, then I'll go catch the mouse. Chapter 458. Gu Meng Meng had no doubt that with Elvis and Lee's behavior of digging deep holes to accumulate food, if she did not instruct them, they would have caught all the rats within 100 miles radius. Elvis and Leah nodded their heads to indicate that they understood, then continued plucking bamboo shoots. Elvis was not as good at controlling his strength as Leah. He often crushed the bamboo shoots into pieces but could not pluck them out. In the end, Leah simply told him not to create trouble and just accompany Gu Meng Meng properly. While Leah was plucking bamboo shoots, Gu Meng Meng held onto a bamboo that was as thick as her arm, sizing it up and down and making gestures. Elvis saw that she was interested in this bamboo, so he asked, Can this be eaten too? Gu Meng Meng shook her head and said, Even pandas don't eat such thick bamboo, not to mention humans. Then Elvis did not understand. Gu Meng Meng patted the bamboo and said, Hubby, cut it for me from here, I want this bamboo. Elvis replied, All right. Elvis wrapped his arm around Gu Meng Meng's waist and protected her in his arms. His other hand turned into a sharp claw and with a light wave, the bamboo was broken into two with a creak. The bamboo leaves rustled and fell towards one direction. Elvis's palm faced upwards and caught the bamboo steadily, then he let go of Gu Meng Meng's waist and said, Can I just bring the whole bamboo back? Gu Meng Meng shook her head and said, Hubby, put it down first, let me take a good look at it. Elvis adjusted the angle and placed the bamboo on the ground. Gu Meng Meng squatted down and looked for a long time before saying, Hubby, here, give me another claw. Elvis did as he was told. Gu Meng Meng picked up the section that was cut off and smiled happily. Look, drink the water cup. Gu Meng Meng said, This bamboo joint is solid and the bamboo tube is hollow. As long as you cut it at the right place, it will become a ready-made water cup. Elvis looked at the 5 meters long bamboo and asked, You need so many water cups? Gu Meng Meng shook her head and said, That's not necessary, I only need 10. Elvis asked, 10. Gu Meng Meng nodded and said, Heda and his brothers, 1 each, 1 for you, 1 for me, 1 for Leah and 1 for Sandy. Gu Meng Meng turned around and looked at Ian, asking, Hero, do you want one? Ian snorted coldly and said, our eagle all tribe drinks stew, we don't need such vulgar things. Oh. Turning around, Gu Meng Meng said to Elvis, Oriton is quite pitiful, he doesn't even have any friends other than us. So prepare one for him too, and one more, he. Elvis raised his eyebrows, he was especially interested in Gu Meng Meng's he. Gu Meng Meng hooked her arms around Elvis's neck, just like two primary school students hugging each other and discussing how to cheat in an exam later on. She said, the other one, I want to use it to do, Gu Meng Meng's organizational behavior special incentive method practical operation. Elvis looked at Gu Meng Meng blankly, not understanding what she was saying at all. Gu Meng Meng said mysteriously, anyway, I have my own plan. Just follow this and help me make 10 cups. Elvis nodded, then pointed at the one in Gu Meng Meng's hand. Oriton. Then, he cut another one and looked at it carefully. He didn't seem satisfied, so he said, Hada. Chapter 459. Elvis cut until he reached the 7th one, before taking out a bamboo cup with a clean cut and no hair at all in satisfaction. He handed it to Gu Meng Meng and said, Meng Mengs. Gu Meng Meng took over her cup and smiled happily. Elvis cut another one and said, mine. Gu Meng Meng took over Elvis's cups and held them in each hand to study. Meanwhile, Elvis casually cut the remaining 2 cups carelessly. Gu Meng Meng took out the snake scale that Ellie gave her and used the sharp edge to carefully engrave the words Gu Meng Meng on it. Then, she engraved her name on Elvis's cup. She then passed Elvis's cup to him and said, here, this way we won't get mixed up. Elvis took over the cup and looked at the mark on it that he did not recognize at all. He would not tell Gu Meng Meng that even if there was no mark, the orcs would not recognize their own things wrongly. But with the mark she added, this cup looked especially different. After Elvis finished his work, Leah had already plucked bamboo shoots as high as a small mountain. Gu Meng Meng hurriedly stopped him and said, all right, if you continue, this bamboo forest will not be able to continue. Leave some for others, we just need enough to eat. Leo looked at the small pile of bamboo shoots and frowned. So little. Enough to eat. Gu Meng Meng said, it's the rainy season now and the humidity is high. If there's too much, it will go bad easily and it will be a waste. Leah said, can't we pickle it? Gu Meng Meng's lips twitched and she said, pickle bamboo shoots. Forget it, eat something fresh, how can we always eat pickled vegetables? Leah nodded and said, all right, I'll listen to you. I will help you pluck when you want to eat it. Gu Meng Meng smiled and nodded. Then, she took out a cup from her arms and passed it to Leah. Here, it's yours. Leah had been listening to Elvis and Gu Meng Meng's conversation all along, so he knew that one of the cups was for him. But when Gu Meng Meng really handed it to him, Leah was still a little excited. After all, this was the first time Gu Meng Meng gave him a present. Leah held the cup in his hands carefully, as if he was holding a rare treasure. Gift givers always hoped that their gifts would be liked and Gu Meng Meng was no exception. Seeing how much Leah treasured it, she said, how about I carve a name for you too? Leah asked excitedly, can I? You can also carve a name for me. Gu Meng Meng took over Lee's cup and said, isn't it just a matter of a few strokes? Using snake scales to carve words was obviously not as good looking as using a pen, but since everyone was illiterate, they did not know what she had written, so she did not feel embarrassed. When she passed the cup with the words Leah engraved on it back to Leah, he did not take the cup. Instead, he held on to Gu Meng Meng's wrist and pulled her into his arms. Gu Meng Meng, thank you. Today. I am very happy. When we were eating, and now. Thank you. Thank you. Gu Meng Meng was not prepared for Leah to suddenly hug her. Feeling a little uncomfortable, she wanted to push him away, but hesitated. After a moment of silence, Gu Meng replied, "The cup was made by Elvis. When we were eating, it was also you who took care of me. I should be the one thanking you. What you have done for me is much more than what I have done for you." Leah chuckled and slowly let go of Gu Meng. Then, he used his finger to lift her chin gently and asked, "Then are you going to repay me with your body?" Aside from the topic, today's update is over. See you tomorrow, babies. Also, the great editor said that he will arrange for a big recommendation for me in March. He asked me to save more chapters and prepare for an explosion of chapters. It would be a little difficult to save chapters with 9,000 chapters a day, but Susu will work hard. Chapter 460. Gu Meng replied gently, "Scram." Elvis howled at the sky, scaring Gu Meng so much that she shuddered. She turned around and asked, "Hubby, what are you doing? Are you excited to see the moon?" It's not a full moon night today." Elvis carried Gu Meng and said, "There are so many bamboo shoots, Leah, and I can't carry them all. Call the males in the tribe to come over and work." Gu Meng looked like she was about to break down. She said, "Sigh, this is such a tragic beast world. We basically rely on walking for transportation and roaring for communication." Ian laughed coldly and said, "Ha." Gu Meng wanted to scold him, but he flapped his wings and flew away, flew away, flew away. So what if you can fly? Do you think you are an angel just because you have wings? You could even be lazy. If you have the guts, don't fly. Come down and see who is better. Gu Meng was just putting on an act and roaring. Who knew Ian would return and stop in midair, transforming into a half-orc. His human body flapped his wings and he looked down at Gu Meng from above. His face looked even paler under the moonlight and he looked slightly sickly. "If you have the guts, come down." Gu Meng clenched her teeth and pointed at Ian. "Come down." Ian raised his eyebrows and landed slowly. He transformed into a human and took a step forward. "I am coming down. What do you want to compete with me in?" Gu Meng took a step back and said, You really came down." Ian crossed his arms and said, "Didn't you ask me to come down?" Gu Meng hissed and said, "Do you have any professional ethics for quarreling? You clearly know that I can't beat you in a fight and can't catch you. Why can't you just let me have my fun?" Ian raised his head and said, "Weaklings don't have the right to flaunt their prowess in front of the strong. If you can't beat me in anything, why should I let you have your fun?" Gu Meng nodded and said, "All right, if I don't compete with you today, you will think that I am afraid of you, right?" Ian nodded. Gu Meng looked around and then chuckled. "You didn't mate, right?" Ian nodded and looked at Gu Meng with a "you're talking rubbish" expression. Gu Meng hugged Elvis's arm and said, "I have a partner, do you?" Ian was speechless. He was clearly a bird, so why did he feel like a dog at this moment? Gu Meng tugged at her collar, revealing the mating mark. "I have a mating mark, do you have one?" "TSK, let alone an old bachelor like you who doesn't have a partner, even if you did, you wouldn't have a handsome mating mark like mine." Ian. Woof. Gu Meng leaned into Elvis's arms and scrutinized Ian, saying, "I have 4 sons, may I ask how many children do you have in your family?" Ian. Woof woof. How dare you torture a single dog and even bring a group of family and child package? Gu Meng chuckled and took 2 steps forward. She hugged Ian's neck and said, "I heard from my hubby that your Eagle Owl tribe didn't have a single female previously. On this trip, I brought back 16 golden hairpins. All of them are perfect females, the #1 beauties of the original tribe. I even abducted many of the strongest warriors from the tribe." Sigh, are we still competing? Ian was silent. He had to admit that Gu Meng's last point had hit his sore spot. Chapter 461. Gu Mengmeng laughed slyly, then hugged Ian's neck even tighter. But since these beauties are now part of Saint Nazir and the Eagle Owl tribe is also part of Saint Nazir, your tribesmen can also woo these females if they are willing. Being able to fly is a rather awesome additional attribute. I believe many females would be willing to have an air force at home. Of course, since we are so close, I will definitely take care of you first. If you like anyone, I will help you matchmake them. Look, I was the one who matchmade Sandy and Colin. Colin's proposal was pretty good, right? Do you want a similar model? Ian frowned and looked at Gu Mengmeng. He could not pinpoint what was strange about it, he just felt that Gu Mengmeng's tone, he could not put his finger on it. It was mainly because Ian was not a modern person. If he was, he would definitely use an accurate question to reply Gu Mengmeng. May I ask, are you a pimp? What? You don't like my 16 valued females? They are already the first beauty of each tribe. Gu Mengmeng looked at Ian and asked. Ian remained silent for a moment, then asked, the Eagle Owl tribe is your secret power. How can you woo females if you cannot be seen in public? Gu Mengmeng laughed and said, so this is what you are worried about. Brother, you are thinking too much. How inhumane must I be to make you guys unable to see the light for the rest of your lives? It's just that when my identity was first exposed, Leo was worried that someone would secretly make a move, so he asked you guys to hide temporarily. This kind of trick will lose its effectiveness after being used once. So, it shouldn't take long before you guys can appear in front of your tribesmen openly. Ian looked at Gu Mengmeng and asked, are you really willing to let the Eagle Owl tribe mate with the females of Saint Nazir? Gu Mengmeng asked, why not? I am not a twisted psychopath who wants someone to be a bachelor for the rest of his life. Ian said, once we mate with a female, we will become a member of her family and will no longer be a tribesman of the Eagle Owl tribe. In the future, no matter where the females go, we will follow. This also means that the blood pact has lost its effectiveness. Gu Mengmeng chuckled and said, the tighter you bind someone, the more he will want to break free. When your blood alliance is completely dissolved, if you are still willing to stay in Saint Nazir and stay by my side, then you will be my true tribesman. Equality, mutual reliance, mutual support. He's the kind of person who you can trust your back to. This kind of person can't be obtained through restraints. Ian looked at Gu Mengmeng quietly. After a long while, he smiled and said, I lost. You can shout in front of me as you wish now. As long as you are happy. With that, Ian flapped his wings and flew high, instantly disappearing into the night. Meanwhile, the tribesmen who had received Elvis's signal had already rushed over. Gu Mengmeng leaned back into Elvis's arms and watched as Leah instructed the crowd to carry the bamboo shoots properly. Everyone was at a loss, but no one dared to ask, what is this? They just followed behind Elvis and Leah in an orderly manner. Leah swayed his large tail and did not look at Gu Mengmeng. He just stared straight ahead and asked slowly, Mengmeng, you don't seem to believe in oaths. Be it what Elvis said, what I said or what others said. Chapter 462. Gu Mengmeng recalled the things that happened after she came to the beast world. Although Elvis and Leah had always treated her well, before they mated, no matter how much they promised and swore to her, she had never trusted them completely. There was always an obvious uneasiness in her heart. Even on the day she confirmed her relationship with Leah, she still thought that Leah would eat her up. After that, after experiencing many things, Elvis's companionship and warmth slowly made her open up her heart to her. Trust was a luxury and she had once thought that she no longer possessed such an ability. Smiling, Gu Mengmeng replied, don't believe words easily, people will not betray me. Don't make promises easily, I will not betray others. Haven't you heard of it? There's only a fine line between promises and lies. The former requires the speaker to take it seriously, while the latter requires the listener to take it seriously. So, this is the most unreliable thing, how can I trust it? Leah turned his head and looked at Gu Meng Meng, asking, you don't trust promises, but trust people's hearts. Gu Meng Meng knew that Leah was asking her about allowing the Eagle Owl tribe to mate with the females in the tribe, so she smiled and replied, I don't trust people's hearts, I trust you guys. Leah was taken aback and even Elvis stopped in his tracks to look at Gu Meng Meng. Gu Meng Meng lowered her head shyly and said, both of you have the absolute ability to build Saint Nazir into the strongest tribe in the entire beast world. Even without me, the rise of Saint Nazir is just a matter of time. My appearance can only be considered as the icing on the cake. A strong tribe will never lack loyal subjects. No. Elvis kissed Gu Meng Meng's little hand gently and said, without you, Saint Nazir would just be a cold shell. You're the one who gave Saint Nazir hope, you're the one who gave life to Leah and me. You're not just the icing on the cake, you're the only key to our fate. Gu Meng Meng's heart thumped at Elvis's serious attitude. She hugged Elvis's neck and gently placed her forehead against his, saying, silly hubby, do you know? Before I met you, I was an unmarriageable person. Elvis looked at Gu Meng Meng and did not interrupt, just quietly listening to her narration. I don't have any sense of identity or trust in marriage. I don't need to tell you the reason, but you know it. The corner of Gu Meng Meng's eyes drifted to the tribesman behind her. She had already lied about being the daughter of the beast deity, so she definitely could not mention her parents' divorce in front of outsiders in the future. But previously in Sauter, she had mentioned it to Leah and Elvis. Gu Meng Meng believed that the two of them would not forget what she said. Sure enough, Elvis and Lee's eyes darkened as heartache appeared on their faces. Chapter 463. Gu Meng Meng lowered her head and looked at the mark on her collarbone. She smiled faintly and said, I'm actually very sorry that this mark could not be branded on my heart. Because it proves my selfishness. Elvis frowned. He was not angry but his heart ached. He did not like the expression on Gu Meng Meng's face. She was clearly smiling but looked so sad. Gu Meng Meng said, initially, I agreed to mate with you because the atmosphere was too confusing. Another reason was that I did not want to be alone anymore. I believed you. I felt that if it was you, you would definitely not betray me or abandon me. So, at that time, I selfishly wanted to possess you and capture you. But I did not love you deeply. If we only mated now, I believe that your mark would definitely be on my heart. Elvis gazed into Gu Meng Meng's eyes gently. His blue pupils seemed to have condensed all the deep emotions under the night sky on her. He slowly opened his mouth. His voice was low and melodious like a cello. Xiao Meng, thank you for your selfishness. Because it gave me a lifetime of happiness. You don't blame me. Mark. Gu Meng Meng looked at Elvis. She wanted to say something but stopped. Elvis shook his head and said, to be able to leave my mark on your body is already a blessing of 3 lifetimes. To be able to be so close to my heart, how can I blame you? Leah remained silent for a long time before finally saying, Gu Meng Meng, I'm sorry. Gu Meng Meng was taken aback. She thought about what she said to Elvis. From Lee's perspective, he must have been blaming him for the lie he made up to make her accept Elvis. Just as she was about to explain, Leah spoke first. After that incident, I thought of many ways to remedy it. But I still owe you a complete apology. I was too arrogant. I always felt that everything was going according to my plan. I neglected your feelings and caused you to be hurt again. Lee's expression was too solemn. This made Gu Meng Meng's heart tug hard. He himself was covered in wounds and wounds. How could she ask him to consider the past, the present, and the future for someone he didn't even know? Gu Meng Meng suddenly smiled. She patted Lee's shoulder and said, compared to an apology. I want to hear a confession more. Leo looked up with disbelief in his eyes, but when he saw Gu Mengmeng's sly smile, he knew that he was thinking too much. Gu Mengmeng replied, because, I can reject a confession, but I can't apologize. As expected, Leo took a deep breath and changed back to his usual seductive and affectionate look. He leaned against Elvis and rested his chin on Elvis's shoulder. He wagged his large tail in front of Gu Mengmeng and said, You obviously enjoy the feeling of me being by your side, right? Gu Mengmeng scoffed and said, How is that possible? I can't wait to find a senior monk to deal with you, you evildoer. But Leo did not believe her and said, Then why did you ask me to scram back the other time? You even said that if I don't return to your side, you will ask Elvis to break my legs. Gu Mengmeng was deeply worried about her intelligence and regretted for the 10086th time that she should not have been rash and fallen into this cunning fox's trap. Clenching her teeth, Gu Mengmeng said, I'm just afraid that Oriton's good cabbage will be taken away by you, you sly fox. Chapter 464. Gu Mengmeng tried to pull her hand back but to no avail. She clicked her tongue and said, Can you maintain a consistent style? It's hard for me to accept you like this. Leo looked up at Gu Mengmeng and said, Make me stay if you like me, hug me if you want, throw a tantrum at me if you want, tell me to scram when you hate me. Don't feel guilty because you didn't mate with me. Staying by your side is my own choice, because your selfishness is what I wish for. Gu Mengmeng said, Why? It's all in the past. Leo said, As long as I don't die, you will never be in my past. Gu Mengmeng could not reply and could only remain silent. The group of onlookers behind were watching with great interest. Gossipy. Breaking news. The former Ninth Highness of the Messenger's tribe degenerated into a beast pet. Is this a corruption of morals or a distortion of human nature? Please watch Gu Mengmeng vs. Leo *AVI. A small portion of these people were former members of Saint Nazir while the majority had just joined this time. The new members did not know what had happened between Gu Mengmeng and Leo in the past, but this did not stop them from watching the gossip with great interest. They're holding hands. Holding hands. Look, the great messenger's gaze is melting. I bet two giant beasts that the great witch doctor will definitely be able to take the position. No, I don't think so. Look at the cold aura that the great tribe leader is emitting, he will definitely not let him take the position so easily. Just as the main leads were silent and the onlookers were exchanging glances with each other, the group finally returned to their original campsite. The females surrounded them and felt strange at the things the males were hugging. Mandy was the one who was more familiar with Gu Mengmeng among the new females, so she plucked up her courage and asked, Great Messenger, what is this? Gu Mengmeng then regained her composure from Li's words. Rubbing her face, Gu Mengmeng said, This is bamboo shoots, it's the best for stewed meat. Let's stew a small pot later. Those who like it can register with Leo and let him distribute it to everyone. It's food. Do I have to add chili too? Mandy was obviously afraid of the spiciness today. Gu Mengmeng smiled and said, If you guys are not used to eating chili then don't put it in, I will make a special dish for myself. Mandy lowered her head in embarrassment and said, Gu Mengmeng took out a bamboo cup and handed it to Mandy. We found this in the bamboo forest just now. It's perfect for holding water. You are the first beauty of the tribe, so I'll give this cup to you first. Mandy was extremely surprised. She wiped her hands on her body and carefully received the cup. She looked at Gu Mengmeng and asked, This is really for me? Gu Mengmeng nodded and said, Of course, you are the first beauty of the tribe, you should be rewarded. Mandy was so excited that she was about to cry. Holding the bamboo cup with both hands, she spun on the spot like a toxic dragon drill. Gu Mengmeng maintained a polite smile, but in her heart, she was ridiculing this era of material scarcity. What has it done to women? How could a piece of broken bamboo be so happy? Chapter 465. He still had to rely on Leah to cook. Fortunately, he was not affected by the events on the road and had already recovered. Gu Mengmeng intentionally avoided him, but he acted as if he did not notice and continued pestering Gu Mengmeng, asking, "It's also my first time eating this thing, you should at least give me a demonstration, right?" Gu Mengmeng had no choice but to nod her head. She took a small step back and widened the distance between them. She called Elvis over to cut the bamboo shoots into slices before cutting them into strips. Elvis had a side effect from cutting ginger during winter. No matter what he cut, the thickness would be similar to that of ginger slices. Unless Gu Mengmeng had special instructions, they would all be treated the same, mechanized assembly line production. Gu Mengmeng set up a small pot. She first used the fat meat to make some oil, then placed the cut beast meat into the pot. Fire was different from gas, there was no way to control the heat evenly, so she could not fry it slowly over a small flame, and could only stir-fry it quickly. After barely stir-frying the meat until it was golden brown, Gu Mengmeng scooped the meat out and added ginger and chili into the hot wok. After stir-frying it until it was fragrant, Gu Mengmeng poured the meat back into the wok and added water. After everything was done, the surroundings were already crowded with people. Gu Mengmeng looked up and saw many pairs of longing eyes staring at her. Gu Mengmeng tilted her head and said, "Here. I added chili." Mandy took a small step forward and said, "Great emissary, I'm not afraid of chili. Can you share some with me?" Gu Mengmeng squinted her eyes and smiled. "It's my honor to be able to have dinner with the first beauty of the tribe." Mandy blushed and slowly walked to Gu Mengmeng's side. She sat obediently by the side and watched Gu Mengmeng's back view as she circled around the pot, her eyes filled with admiration. Gu Mengmeng used beast skin to pad the handle of the pot and poured the bamboo shoots into the pot. She then used chopsticks to stir the bamboo shoots evenly before using a stone board to cover the pot. Turning his head to look at Leah, he said, "That's the basic process. Normally, you can collect the juice after stewing it for an hour, but the meat of wild beasts is harder to rot than domestic pigs, so you can cook it for another half an hour or so. Season it with salt before serving." "Oh, right, do you still have any potatoes?" Leah nodded. "There's more," Gu Mengmeng said, "then cut 2 potatoes and soak them in water. Just put the potatoes in the pot and stew them together. Leave the water that was used to soak the potatoes and don't touch it. After the starch has settled, pour away the excess water and leave it for the final thickening." Leah nodded nonchalantly and looked at Gu Mengmeng. Suddenly, he went forward and pressed his face against the tip of Gu Mengmeng's nose. He stayed there for 2 seconds and smirked at Gu Mengmeng's frightened face. "But, how long is 1 hour? How long is half an hour?" Gu Mengmeng cleared her throat and took a small step back. "You don't have to be so precise. Just make it about the time you usually stew potatoes." Leah wrapped his arm around Gu Mengmeng's waist and pulled her into his arms. Using his height advantage, he shrouded her under his shadow. He looked down at the flustered Gu Mengmeng and said in a low voice, "I'll teach the other males how to make stewed meat with bamboo shoots first, then come back to eat with you." Gu Mengmeng pushed Leah a few times but to no avail. She could only maintain this pressuring posture and look up at Leah. Actually you can stay and eat with them. You don't have to come back to accompany me." Chapter 466. Gu Mengmeng laughed dryly and said, Make more and ask Oriton to come over and eat with us." Leo leaned forward and approached Gu Mengmeng slowly. Gu Mengmeng retreated with all her might until her spine was bent to its limit. She had no choice but to place her hand on Li's chest and stuttered, What are you doing? Li's long and narrow eyes were filled with sadness and he said in a low voice, The more I ask you to be more selfish towards me, the more you want to push me away. Gu Mengmeng remained silent and did not reply. Leah hooked Gu Mengmeng's chin with one hand and did not allow her to avoid his eyes. He then said softly, You drew a boundary and did not allow me to cross it. I can only stand at the boundary and look at you that I cannot touch no matter how long I stretch out my arms. Greed and desire have forced me to break through that boundary again and again to get closer to you, but you always escape even further the moment I cross the boundary. I don't want much, I just want to push the boundary a little closer to you, so that I can touch you with my fingertips when I stretch out my arms with all my might. Then I will know my place and not cross it, just a little bit will do, so that I can reach you, just a little bit. Gu Mengmeng pursed her lips and remained silent for a long time before saying, Maybe, the scenery behind you is even more beautiful. Why don't you try turning around? Leo laughed, a rather miserable laugh and asked, You are abandoning me? Gu Mengmeng did not say anything and just frowned. Leah suddenly let out an sound as if he had suddenly realized something and said, Yes, in your eyes and in your heart, I am no longer the daddy Leah from before. You have never allowed me to become your male, so abandoning to me is a luxurious word. Leo let go, turned around and stood still. I will go teach the males how to stew bamboo shoots and then stay there to eat with them. You don't have to let Oriton go there because of me. Although I am not the one who is favored, but I am also happy to have another person by your side who can make you happy. With that, Leah slowly walked to the side and did not look back again. Li's body heat still lingered on Gu Mengmeng's body and when the night breeze blew, it disappeared without a trace. Winter was clearly over, but it was still so cold. Elvis hugged Gu Mengmeng from behind and kissed her forehead. As long as you call for him, he will come back. Gu Mengmeng's eyes lit up. Gu Mengmeng shook her head. Maybe I should let him live. Huh? Elvis was confused. Gu Mengmeng said, We have a famous saying there, if you love, please love deeply. If you abandon, please be thorough. Don't be ambiguous and hurt yourself and others. Elvis remained silent and did not speak. Gu Mengmeng stood behind Leah and stared at his back as he demonstrated how to make bamboo shoot stew meat in the crowd. She said, Maybe from the start, I shouldn't have taken a laissez-faire attitude and given him a buffer period. This kind of attitude made it harder for him to let go. It was hard for him to give up, and he was at a loss for what to do. Elvis kissed her hair and said, No, you're not wrong. If you hadn't been soft-hearted back then, Leah might not have survived that winter. Gu Mengmeng looked up in confusion. Chapter 467. If you didn't allow him to enter the cave when I was injured, when the snow melts this year, you might only see a dead fox at the cave entrance. Gu Mengmeng stared at Elvis in a daze. After a while, she said, He was at the cave entrance when the stray beasts came. Then why didn't he come in to help? Elvis's expression froze. He lowered his head and said, Xiao Meng. I'm sorry. Gu Mengmeng frowned and looked at Elvis without saying a word. Elvis pursed his lips and said, I pretended to faint during the battle to create a chance for Leah to enter the cave. I was afraid that you would be too embarrassed to mate with him because I was awake, so, don't be angry. Gu Mengmeng turned her head away, not wanting to say a word to Elvis. Elvis was like a child who had done something wrong. He followed behind Gu Mengmeng and pulled her hand. I know I was wrong. I shouldn't have lied to you and pretended to faint to make you worry. But Leah could not hold on any longer. If I had done that, he would have died in the snow. I was afraid that I would regret it, and also afraid that you would, so I was wrong. If you are angry, you can hit me. Or, twist my ears. As Elvis said that, he transformed his pair of wolf ears and placed Gu Mingming's little hands on his ears. He bent down to accommodate Gu Mingming's height. I promise I won't hide. Twist my ears until you vent your anger, alright? Gu Mingming sighed. If I remember correctly, we had just mated when the stray beasts rushed into the cave, right? Elvis, do you really love me? Elvis was completely frozen. He hugged Gu Mingming tightly in his arms. I know you are angry. I will accept any punishment you want, but you are not allowed to leave me. Not allowed. Do you love me? This was a very serious question. Because Elvis clearly remembered what Gu Mingming had said before. If you have a change of heart in the future, I will bring my sons back to where I came from and never come back again. I will make sure that you will never find us again. After experiencing Gu Mingming's jumping into the lake incident in the afternoon, Elvis was extremely sensitive. He was too afraid that Gu Mingming would leave him. He did not know if Gu Mingming would be disappointed in him, suspect his feelings and waver in her decision to stay. Gu Mingming took a deep breath. I did not say I want to leave you. I just asked you, do you really love me? Elvis hugged Gu Mingming tightly and refused to let go. He desperately wanted to prove his love but realized that all his words were so pale and powerless. He did not know what to say to make Gu Mingming believe that the reason he helped Leah create the kind of opportunity was precisely because he loved her too much and did not want her to be unhappy in the slightest. After pondering for a long while, Elvis held her hand and placed her palm on his chest, saying, if I dig it out for you to see, then you won't leave, all right? Gu Mingming's heart trembled. Gu Mingming felt the vibration coming from her palm and only spoke after a long while, you don't have to use this method to keep me here. My son is still here so I won't leave. With that, Gu Mingming retracted her hand. Elvis refused to let go. He was afraid that she would injure herself with brute force, so he could only use his other hand to hug her waist tightly to secure her in his arms. Frowning, Elvis could feel the uneasiness in his chest that was throbbing in unease. You don't even dare to say you love me. Why are you still hugging me? Let go of me. Gu Mingming twisted and struggled, kicking and hitting Elvis. Chapter 468. Elvis's voice was shaking along with his heartbeat. On the other hand, Gu Mingming's tantrum gradually calmed down after he repeated, I love you. Realizing that Gu Mingming was no longer struggling and no longer trying to push him away, Elvis carefully loosened the distance between them. Looking at Gu Mingming who was dripping with tears, Elvis became even more flustered. Kissing her tears, Elvis's heart ached terribly. Don't cry, don't cry. I don't know what to do when you cry. I promise I won't lie to you anymore, don't cry. Gu Mingming lifted her tear-stained face to look at Elvis, saying, of course it's wrong for you to lie, but it's even more wrong for you to secretly open the back door for someone else right from the start of mating. How much do you really care about me that you would create such an opportunity for other males? Elvis shook his head, saying, no Xiao Mang. Gu Mingming did not give Elvis any chance to explain, only continuing, yes, Leah is your good brother, you guys have many years of relationship foundation, you can't just watch him freeze to death outside. Then can't you just tell me directly? I'm such an unreasonable person, must I watch him court death and not stop him? Don't tell me that if you just tell me directly, will I stop you from letting him in? Elvis was at a loss, asking, since the outcome is the same, don't be angry. Gu Mingming howled, how can calling your brother into the cave to hide from the wind and me calling my ex-boyfriend home while my husband is unconscious be the same? Elvis shook his head at Gu Mingming's howl, saying, it's not the same, it's not the same. Gu Mingming sniffled, wiping her tears, saying, anyway, you don't love me that much, I'll leave with my son once we return to Saint Nazaire. Since you like Leah so much, you can continue living with him." Hearing that Gu Mengmeng was leaving, Elvis hurriedly hugged her in his arms, saying, "I don't like Leah, I hate him, really. I hate him the most, I don't want to live with him." Gu Mengmeng did not say a word, only turning her head to one side. Elvis also turned his head, looking at Gu Mengmeng's little face, saying, "I wish it were just the two of us living in the cave for the rest of our lives, with no outsiders. But I'm just worried that you'll get tired of looking at me every day." Gu Mengmeng glared at him. "You're making a false accusation." Elvis shook his head. I don't dare. How would I dare to hit you? I'm just worried." Elvis was halfway through his sentence when he stopped under Gu Mengmeng's glare. He corrected himself and said, "Do you really not like Leah?" Gu Mengmeng lowered her head and remained silent for a moment. Then, she replied gloomily, "Maybe. I still like him from the bottom of my heart. That was why I allowed him to pester me with all sorts of excuses. If I wanted to avoid him, I could definitely avoid him. But I indulged him. He was right, in fact, I quite enjoyed being surrounded by him in every possible way. I rejected him and refused to give him a response, but at the same time, I accepted his kindness. This is very selfish, the behavior of a scumbag." Elvis wanted to say something but did not say anything in the end. He just hugged her in his arms and patted her back lightly. Because of the strange atmosphere between the messenger of the beast deity, tribe leader and witch doctor, everyone was extremely cautious, afraid that they might get into trouble. For the next 2 days, everyone set off when Gu Mengmeng said to go. When Gu Mengmeng said to stop, everyone stood at attention. Even the pampered females did not dare to complain. Finally, on the afternoon of the second day, Gu Mengmeng and the rest returned to Saint Nazaire. Aside from the topic, an unforgettable night, audience friends, it's time to say goodbye to everyone again. Chapter 469. On the day they returned to the tribe, Leo was chased out of Elvis's cave by Gu Mengmeng. He stood at the outskirts of Elvis's territory and stared straight at the entrance of the cave. In the past, he had also stood here before. That time, the weather was still very cold and he was also in despair. Other than Leah, Elvis was also ordered to move to the outermost room of the cave, while Gu Mengmeng and her 4 sons stayed in the innermost room. The people brought back from Sauter were handed over to Barit and Colin to make arrangements. The 16 valued females would choose their homes and territories in turn, then dig a cave. But Gu Mengmeng naturally did not need to worry about these trivial matters, so she just stayed in the cave to accompany her sons and did not go anywhere else. But even if she did not go out, it did not mean that the people outside would not come in. After Colin saw Gu Mengmeng, he went home and told Sandy that Gu Mengmeng did not seem to be in a good mood. He did not know if she had quarreled with Leah or with Elvis, but the 2 males looked as if they were on the verge of death, one sprawled at the entrance and the other outside the cave. Sandy was worried about Gu Mengmeng and hurried over. She first saw Leah, who was indeed dispirited, sitting on a tree branch and staring at the entrance of the cave. Sandy looked up and asked, "How did you offend our Gu Mengmeng?" Leah was extra polite to Sandy because Gu Mengmeng treated her very differently. Seeing Sandy's question, Leah jumped down from the tree and said, "I crossed the boundaries she set and wanted more greedily. So she ran away." Sandy frowned and looked at Leah, throwing a sentence at him, "Don't you know how to speak properly?" before leaving. Leah sighed and leaned back on the tree branch, wondering if Gu Mengmeng would come out later to fetch or send Sandy off. That way, he would be able to see her. Sandy walked past Elvis and glanced at the listless Elvis, asking, "What about you? How did you offend our Gu Mengmeng again?" Elvis did not even lift his head and sighed, "My lie was discovered." Sandy frowned and said, "You deserve it." Before leaving, deep into the cave, the four little ones ran out happily and surrounded Sandy for a while. Gu Meng Meng was a little jealous and said, how many days have I been gone? Ha! She's closer to you than she is to me, her own mother. Why? Are you trying to please your mother-in-law in advance because you know that your Aunt Sandy will give birth to a wife for you in the future? Sandy was not shy at all. She sat beside Gu Meng Meng and allowed Qi Xian to jump into her arms. She hugged him and stroked his little head. The two outside are about to turn into salted fish. How long do you intend to leave them hanging like this? Gu Meng Meng was not shy at all. Gu Meng Meng pursed her lips and pulled Sandy's little hand. Then, she patted her son's little buttocks and said, "Go ask your father to bring you out to play. I want to have a private conversation with Aunt Sandy. If you dare to eavesdrop, I'll run away from home." Gu Meng Meng shouted the words "run away from home" at the top of her lungs. No matter how slow Elvis was, he knew that she was warning him. Although it was a little complicated, it was the first time his wife had spoken to him in so many days. So, Elvis did not dare to delay and brought the four wolf pups away with him. Chapter 470. Gu Meng Meng nodded and heaved a sigh of relief. She hugged Sandy's waist and leaned into her arms, just like how Sandy had leaned into her arms when she was injured. Gu Meng Meng whimpered and looked up at Sandy. "Sandy, I feel so terrible." Sandy gently caressed Gu Meng Meng's hair and said, "Both of them know their mistakes. If you are still angry, let them fight each other until their faces are all swollen, then you can calm down and forgive them." Gu Meng Meng's eyes were filled with tears. Gu Meng Meng smiled. "This time, they are not in the wrong. It's me." Sandy widened her eyes. "How could you be wrong? You are the messenger of the beast deity, Gu Meng Meng." Gu Meng Meng rubbed Sandy's round little face and said, "But the messenger of the beast deity is also human. There are times when she is greedy, weak, at a loss of what to do, and when she lies to herself." Sandy could not understand such profound words. But she knew that Gu Meng Meng was really feeling terrible now. She had never seen Gu Meng Meng so depressed before. Her heart ached for her and she frowned. Sandy asked gently, "Then, what exactly happened? Can you tell me about it?" Gu Meng Meng thought for a while but realized that she did not know where to start. She gave a bitter laugh and sighed, "I mated with Elvis, but I can't forget about Leah. I had both sides in my hands and all three of us were tortured. Leah did not even have a title and was despised by everyone. Elvis was even worse. His newlywed wife had an affair and was mentally cheating on him. Not only did he have to pretend to be deaf and mute, he even cooperated with his wife to smash the wall because he was worried that he would be abandoned. Two outstanding males were suffering because of my selfishness. But none of them came to blame me. Instead, they coaxed me, gave in to me and took care of me. They were afraid that I would be the slightest bit unhappy." Sandy blinked her eyes and asked, "Isn't that good? Then why are you angry?" Gu Meng Meng looked up. "Good? What's so good about it? I couldn't let go of Leah, so I was being disloyal to Elvis. I let Leah have fantasies about me, but I couldn't give him a title, so I was being disloyal. I was the one who was being disloyal and unjust, so I was filled with guilt every day when I faced these two males. The more I wanted to make it up to them, the more I owed them. I can't breathe anymore." Sandy asked, "Didn't you already give Leah a status?" Gu Meng Meng looked at Sandy with a dumbfounded expression. "What do you mean?" "3 big words." Sandy asked, "Isn't he your pet?" "Everyone in St. Nazaire knows." Gu Meng Meng frowned and said, "What status does a beast pet have?" Sandy asked, "Why doesn't being a pet count? Which female didn't have a pet at home?" It's just that most of their pet beasts are half-beasts or crippled beasts that can't transform at all. None of them are at Lee's level. Gu Meng Meng stared at Sandy in a daze, not knowing what to say for a moment. What the F***ck? Keeping a courtesan as a mistress is AF***king convention. Chapter 471. Gu Meng Meng was dumbfounded. What kind of atmosphere was this? Even husbands were helping their wives find. Sighing, Gu Meng Meng was speechless. Sandy continued, although we have not mated with a beast pet yet, and there is a high possibility that we will not mate with a beast pet for the rest of our lives, but this does not stop us from treating them well. Take Nina for example. Her 40-over partners are so envious of that beast pet. At least when she goes out, that beast pet would definitely be by her side. It is not an exaggeration to say that Nina treats that beast pet better than all her partners. Gu Meng Meng thought about it and felt that it was understandable. After all, in the modern world, many young ladies treated their dogs better than their boyfriends. For example, if a dog bit her boyfriend, the girl would pretend to hit the dog's butt and say, "I, little rascal, don't bite people in the future, do you understand?" Then she would act coquettishly and help her dog to deal with the aftermath. But in the other case, if the boyfriend bit the dog, she had not heard of such an example, but she guessed that there was no escape even if they did not break up. Sandy drank a mouthful of water, then continued, in the beast world, there is such a huge disparity between the ratio of males and females. How many males do not even have the chance to speak to a female in their entire lives? There were also many males who had mated, but other than that one time, they couldn't even touch their own female. Compared to them, don't tell me you are not treating Leah well enough. What exactly do you owe him? Why do you feel burdened? Gu Meng Meng said, Leah is so outstanding, he should have a good partner. Sandy laughed and said, why? Did you tie Leah up so that he could not find other females? Or did you let Elvis use force to suppress him and force him to be your beast pet? I don't think so. He keeps bragging about how he is your beast pet. Every time he heard others talking about it, his tail would go up to the sky. How does he look unwilling? Gu Meng Meng said, but, Sandy passed the cup of water to Gu Meng Meng and asked her to drink a mouthful of water, then continued, but what but? Gu Meng Meng, let me tell you, the males in the beast world are all stubborn and will never change their minds after seeing someone else. If they don't like you, that means they don't like you. No matter how good you are, it's useless. They can't keep you. But once they fall in love with you and acknowledge you, then even if the beast deity appears, there is no way to make them give up. If you really feel that letting Leah be your beast pet is a grievance to him, then just mate with him and accept him. Wouldn't that be the end of it? Why are you so conflicted? Gu Meng Meng bit her lip and said, I just mated with Elvis, it hasn't even been half a year. Sandy stared at him and asked, what? Elvis objected. Gu Meng Meng hurriedly shook her head and pulled Sandy, who looked like he was going to argue with Elvis. Elvis did not object, on the contrary, he even created opportunities for Leah. Sandy sat down and said, that's more like it. In the beast world, it was a taboo for males to stop females from mating, because if a female had too few partners, she would not be able to receive the best care. Females were originally weaker than males, they would die if they were not careful, so they must receive the best care in all aspects. Furthermore, if the female has too few partners, it will also lead to a lack of reproduction. Some races have perished because of this. Aside from the topic, ask, who still hates Sandy now? Chapter 472. Gu Meng Meng thought of Ian and the Eagle Owl tribe and nodded instinctively. But Sandy took Gu Meng Meng's nod as agreement, so she said excitedly, you also think it makes sense, right? You are the messenger of the beast deity, if you think it makes sense, then it must make sense. Gu Meng Meng wanted to explain, but Sandy continued, what did you say just now? What loyalty and guilt, what else? I can't remember. You probably feel that if you accept Leah, you will owe Elvis. Then I have to ask you, what do you owe him? You are the messenger of the beast deity, you have even given him the position of your first partner and the right to mate before you give birth to a child, and you still say you owe him? What do you owe him? Take a look, how many powerful men in the beast world did not even have a child of their own even when they died? But him, in just one winter, he already has a partner and a child, and he's still not content. Does he want to go to heaven? Gu Mengmeng was speechless from Sandy's rebuttal. She started to regret teaching Sandy those messy modern words. Ever since Nina was gone and she had mated with Colin, this girl's personality had changed drastically. She was much more cheerful and straightforward, no longer the yes man she was when they first met. Actually, this was quite good, but it was an exception when she used it against herself. Gu Mengmeng could not spread the modern concept of marriage to Sandy. Even if she did, it would still be a fantasy story to Sandy, an unimaginable thing. The ratio of males to females in the beast world meant that the modern concept of marriage would be conserved, but as a modern person, she would still be sensitive to it if she wanted to adapt to it. Seeing that Gu Mengmeng did not say anything, Sandy kept her anger in and continued, "You don't owe Leah anything. He treats you of his own free will, you allowed him to treat you well, that's a great gift from the heavens. Why don't you look outside, the number of people queuing up to treat you can form a line from St. Nazaire all the way to Sauter. But other than Leah, who else have you given a chance to? But let me tell you, although no one knows what Leah had experienced in the past, I can tell that before he met you, Leah seemed to be using an extreme cruelty to squander his life, cruel to others and even more cruel to himself." Gu Mengmeng remained silent. What exactly did Leah go through? She had only heard Elvis talk about it. Leah had avoided the important parts and talked about the trivial, so that she could piece together a vague outline. But as for the details, unless Leah was willing to tell her, no one else would know what he had gone through. Sandy drank a mouthful of water and continued, "But ever since he met you, he has become a different person. No, it should be said that the Leah of the past had always lived in the night, and you were like the sun, lighting up his world and granting him a new life." "Do you know when was the first time I saw Leah smile?" Meng asked. "When?" Chapter 473. Sandy paused for a while before continuing, "Actually, it's not up to me to decide who you want to mate with. But I feel that you are the happiest when Leah and Elvis are by your side. I want you to be happy forever. You won't blame me for talking too much, right?" Gu Mengmeng shook her head and leaned into Sandy's arms, saying, "You are my best friend. Of course you have the right to express your opinion on my matters, because I know, you are the person who treats me the best in this world." Sandy blushed and said shyly, "That's not it, Elvis and Leah also treat you very well." Gu Mengmeng sighed, "Elvis is my husband and the father of my child, it's only right for him to treat me well. But Leah, it's precisely because he treats me so well that I can't build my happiness on his pain and torment. That's too cruel." Sandy held Gu Mengmeng's little face and stared straight at her with her round eyes, saying seriously, "Do you know what's the most cruel thing you've done?" Gu Mengmeng was momentarily stunned and shook her head in confusion. Sandy said, "Do you still remember when you fell into the lake last year? That day, Leah suddenly came to my house and asked me to cook a pot of watermelon for you. I was still angry at him and couldn't care less about being afraid of him, so I used the wooden stick to hit him, wanting to chase him away. He hit me a few times harshly, but stood there in a daze, not moving an inch. If it wasn't for Bode stopping me, I might have accidentally killed him that day." Gu Mengmeng was extremely surprised. This Sandy really dared to do anything for her. The first time she resisted Nina, it seemed like it was because Nina was bad-mouthing her behind her back. Leah was clearly someone she was so scared of that she wanted to take a detour, but she actually dared to fight him for her, Sandy recalled as she continued, I was so angry then, I asked him to scram. I told him to stop pretending to be kind in front of me. If he really cared about you so much, he should have cooked it himself and sent it to you. Guess what he said? Gu Meng Meng thought about it, but could not imagine how Leah would have replied at that time. Sandy said, he said that he didn't even have the right to cry for you, not to mention preparing food for you. I didn't understand what was going on at that time. Later on, I heard from Colin that you sang a song for Leah and the lyrics seemed to have a line like, I have already lost the right to cry for you. Gu Meng Meng lowered her eyelids and muttered, it's I have lost the right to cry for you. Sandy, yes, that's the sentence. You don't even know, when Leah said those words, his entire being was like a ghost. I even suspected that I could directly pass through his body. There was no life at all at that time, it was deathly still. Gu Meng Meng forced a smile and said, didn't you use a stick to hit him? The stick didn't even miss, so how could you pass through? Sandy blushed and said, it's just a metaphor. Think about it, how frightening Leo looked in the past. If he was still exuding a fearsome aura like before, how would I dare to hit him? That day, he didn't even have that frightening aura. It was as if he was made out of snow, soulless, yes, soulless. Gu Mingming's heart twitched. So at that time, she was not the only one who was dealing with emotional wounds. Leah, that hurtful person, did not have a good time either. Chapter 474. Gu Mingming's lips curled up when she recalled Lee's expression that day. Sandy suddenly sighed and said, but just now. When I looked at Leah, he looked like he was half dead and actually said some incomprehensible words, something like, I crossed the boundary, so you ran away. Gu Meng Meng pursed her lips and did not say a word. She remembered that Leah had said those words to her on the way back from Sauder. But, she could not bear the responsibility, so she backed off. Sandy said carefully, I am especially grateful to you for matchmaking me with Colin. Because I am very, very blissful now. But I hope that you are also blissful. Leah is a good male. Even if you don't want to mate with him now, don't chase him away. Without you, he really can't live on. Gu Meng Meng bit her lips and said, but Elvis, Sandy sighed and said, you know about Elvis and Lee's duel, right? Gu Meng Meng nodded. Elvis had already told her about this during the winter. Sandy continued, Colin told me that he accidentally overheard a conversation between Elvis and Leah. Elvis said that he seemed to be a thief who stole Lee's happiness. In the beast world, snatching is not shameful, but stealing is. I guess that Elvis kept creating opportunities for Leah because of this reason. If you accept Leah, then Elvis will only get one more position as the first partner than Leah. To both of them, it's the same no matter who takes this position. But if you reject Leah, it's fine if Leah can find a better female to mate with. But do you think that this possibility exists? Gu Meng Meng wanted to say something but Sandy did not give her a chance. She answered her own question directly, not possible. Gu Meng Meng almost bit her own tongue. Seeing that Sandy had no intention of letting her interrupt, she just obediently listened to Sandy. Sandy said, then, there is only one possibility left. Leah had nothing left to live for because of you and passed away in the end. But what about Elvis? He has to feel guilty for the rest of his life because this happiness originally belonged to Leah. He stole Lee's female, stole Lee's life, stole Lee's life. Gu Meng Meng wanted to say that this was not the way to use vanishing beauty. But looking at Sandy's furious expression, Gu Meng Meng did not dare to interrupt her. She just nodded obediently, indicating that she understood. Hearing Gu Mingming's reply, Sandy nodded in satisfaction. So, no matter from Lee's or Elvis's point of view, keeping Leah is the best choice for them. Whether you want to mate or not, it's up to you. Don't feel pressured just because Leah treats you well, as if you owe him something if you don't mate with him. Please, it's natural for a male to treat a female well. If you have to mate with someone who treats you well, how many partners would you have? Let me tell you, there is no such rule in the beast world. Mating depends on the female's mood, it has nothing to do with anything else. If Lilith Miss is happy, you can wash me clean and lie down. If Lilith Miss is not happy, there is no use even if you lie flat. Gu Mingming's face was filled with horror as she thought to herself, darling Sandy, can't you be more tactful with your words? I'm still a baby. Chapter 475. You value your lover over your friends. Gu Mengmeng accused. Sandy turned back to look at Gu Mengmeng, then nodded seriously, as if admitting to this accusation. Gu Mengmeng said, I have nothing to say now that you admitted it so calmly. Sandy blushed shyly and said, when you went to participate in the beauty pageant, you left the 4 cubs with me. In order to take care of them, I have neglected Bode and Colin for a long time. I promise to make it up to them once you return. I will go back first, they are all waiting for me. Gu Mengmeng, Sandy twisted her body and trotted out. Gu Mengmeng sighed helplessly, but was not angry at Sandy. Sandy had already done enough for her. The sisterhood that she had not obtained in the modern world had all been satisfied by Sandy. It was great that she could be happy. Ow, ow, the little wolf scrambled over and Kanwu was the first to jump into Gu Mengmeng's arms. Gu Mengmeng instinctively reached out to catch Kanwu, only to realize that he was covered in mud. She said helplessly, what did you do just now? Why are you so dirty? Ow, 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 Kanwu recounted everything that had happened just now, but his mother did not understand a single word. Rubbing Kanwu's head, she looked at Heda, Qi Xian and Jiaoyu, who had all rushed back. Gu Mengmeng shouted outside in exasperation, hubby, boil water for the children to bathe. Ow! Elvis howled, then ran in happily. Xiao Meng, you are finally willing to talk to me. Elvis was overjoyed. He took a step forward and pushed the 4 cubs onto the ground. Then, he hugged his wife and heaved a long sigh of relief. You have ignored me for so many days. If I had known that you would be willing to talk to me after throwing these 4 into the mud, I would have thrown them away long ago. Gu Mengmeng raised her brows. You threw my sons into the mud. Elvis replied, no, they jumped by themselves. I couldn't even stop them. Gu Mengmeng said, you promised me that you will never lie to me again. Elvis was silent. Then, he pinched his ears and knelt beside the bed. Wife, I know I was wrong. Gu Mengmeng looked at Elvis's henpecked look with a dumbfounded expression and said, stand up right now, right now. Elvis shook his head and said, no, Bode said that if I make my own female angry, I must admit my mistake with a good attitude so that I can be forgiven. I don't want you to be angry and ignore me again, so I admit my mistake. Gu Mengmeng gritted her teeth and asked, Bode taught you? Elvis nodded and said, yeah, Bode sent Sandy over just now. You two wanted to chat and didn't allow us to listen, so Bode and I brought the 4 of them outside for basic training. Gu Mengmeng laughed coldly and said, I will settle the score with Bode later. You better forget everything he taught you, not a single word. Elvis was stunned for a moment and hurriedly stood up. All right, I forgot. Gu Mengmeng sat up and looked up at Elvis. She said, my man should be a man of indomitable spirit. My man won't do such a useless thing like kneeling down to his wife. Elvis nodded and said, all right, I won't do it if you say so. Gu Mengmeng nodded in satisfaction and said, tell me, what kind of basic training did you give these 4 little ones? They are so dirty. Chapter 476. Gu Meng Meng rolled her eyes at Elvis but did not pursue the matter further. She looked at her 4 sons who had been thrown onto the ground and frowned. Pointing at Jiaoyu, she asked, "Why is there no mud on third brother at all?" Elvis turned his head and met his third brother's eyes. His gaze unknowingly became gentle. Stretching out his hand, Jiaoyu immediately jumped onto Elvis's lap. He placed his front paws on Elvis's chest and licked his face intimately. He even used his little head to nudge his chin. Elvis replied with a purr that only wolves could understand. Jiaoyu leaped back to Gu Mingming's back and placed his chin on Gu Mingming's waist. He laid down obediently and allowed his mother to stroke his fur. Elvis looked at the mother and son gently and replied, "Jiaoyu's eyes are so similar to yours, clean and transparent." Looking at his eyes, I could not bear to throw him away. Gu Meng Meng shook her head in exasperation. She turned to look again. Although Heda and Qi Xian also had mud on them, most of it was concentrated on their limbs. It seemed like they had run back up on their own after being thrown down. But Kanwu, Elvis saw Gu Meng Meng looking at Kanwu, and before she could ask, he answered first. He jumped into play and refused to come up no matter what. I couldn't even stop him. You can ask Bode if you don't believe me. Gu Meng Meng laughed coldly and said, "You are obviously bullying my sons for not knowing how to speak." Bode? Would he dare to expose you? Elvis's smile froze and he did not dare to reply. Gu Meng Meng sighed and did not pursue the matter. After all, if she lectured Elvis in front of his sons, Elvis's authority as a father would be greatly reduced. Heaving a sigh of relief, Gu Meng Meng stood up from the bed and called out, "Steamed Bun Dishwan Kanwu, stand at attention." The 4 little fellows did not know what standing at attention meant. They only knew that their mother was calling them, so they all rushed to Gu Mingming's feet and huddled together. Kanwu even took the opportunity to rub the mud on his body onto Elvis. Seeing how he was in a bad mood but did not dare to punish him in front of his mother, Kanwu's eyes, which were identical to Elvis's, were filled with pride. Elvis clenched his teeth. This Kanwu was indeed very annoying. Gu Meng Meng did not notice the fight between the father and son. She only asked her 4 sons to line up and follow behind her out of the cave. Elvis had finally been pardoned, so it was naturally more important for him to coax his wife now, so he was not in the mood to argue with Kanwu. He only accidentally used his tail to sweep him when he passed by him, directly sweeping him from the back of the group to the wall at the side. With a dull thud, that fellow did not even make a sound as he had the guts to do so. When Gu Meng Meng heard the noise and turned around, she saw Kanwu stumbling back to the team. She turned to look at Elvis, who shrugged his shoulders, indicating that he was innocent. The moment she exited the cave, Gu Meng Meng saw Leah standing at a distance. It had only been a few days since she last saw him, but he had lost a lot of weight, looking decadent and weathered. That pair of long and narrow eyes seemed to contain 1,000 years of hope, and the moment he saw Gu Meng Meng, they gushed out and drowned her. Gu Meng Meng bit her lower lip and made up her mind to turn her head to the side. She walked past Leah but chose to ignore him. If you love, please love deeply. If you abandon, please be thorough. Don't be ambiguous, hurting others and yourself. Gu Meng Meng repeated this sentence in her heart, telling herself that as long as she was more ruthless, Leah might just give up and leave after accumulating enough disappointment with her. That way, maybe. Chapter 477. Leah grabbed Gu Mingming's arm, but did not pull her into his arms. He just maintained a back-to-back position. He did not dare to turn back, afraid that he would personally witness her rejection. She did not dare to turn back, afraid that she would not be able to withstand his pleading. Lee's voice was a little dry, with a hint of indifference in his hoarse voice. "I will go to the platform of the deity's punishment." Gu Meng Meng wanted to ask, "What are you going to the platform of the deity's punishment for?" But the words were stuck in her throat, turning into a faint "oh." Leah used all his strength to slowly loosen his grip. He let go, but she hesitated. Humans were indeed selfish and greedy. Leah was right, she did enjoy his attentive care and fawning by her side. Smiling bitterly, Gu Mengmeng told herself that since she could not afford it, then she would set him free. Gu Mengmeng pulled her hand out and left resolutely. Only after she had walked a distance away did Leah dare to turn around. Leaning against the tree trunk, he slowly sat on the ground and clutched his chest tightly. His gaze was fixated in the direction where Gu Mengmeng had disappeared to. His left hand, which was holding onto her wrist, maintained the posture when she pulled away. He said, "In this lifetime, I only made that one mistake, but I never had the chance to be forgiven." Gu Mengmeng brought her sons to the stream and wanted to jump in to help them bathe, but was stopped by Elvis. Elvis called out and Jiaoyu and Heda jumped into the stream with a plop. Qi Xian hesitated for a moment, but after being glared at by Elvis, he could only jump in. Only Kanwu, who was covered in mud, stood by the shore, refusing to go down. He was covered in mud and felt uncomfortable. But he just did not want to listen to Elvis. The more he asked them to go down, the more he refused to go down. Since Mother was here, what could he do? Kanwu felt a pain in his buttocks, and when he regained his senses, he had already fallen into the stream in a free fall. He tried to struggle with Elvis, but was stopped by Heda. Heda used the little wolf's language to say, "Can't you see that Mother is upset? Father is thinking of ways to comfort Mother, don't cause trouble." Kanwu then realized that Mother's expression was not quite right. It cried out twice, but failed to attract its mother's attention. Only then did it reluctantly soak in the water and begin to clear its body. He thought to himself, "I won't argue with you for my mother's sake. Otherwise, I won't wash my body of mud. I'll just stand in front of my mother like this and see how you explain it to her." Elvis knew what that fellow was thinking and could not be bothered with him. He thought to himself, "If it wasn't because your mother is in a bad mood now and I'm worried that you'll get in the way while I'm coaxing my wife, do you think I'll be willing to care whether you bathe or not? It's best if you're dirty to death. When my wife hates you, I'll immediately kick you out." The father and son, who hated each other, didn't give each other any face, but for the sake of a woman who was very important to them, they temporarily reached a tacit understanding not to cause trouble for each other. Elvis hugged Gu Mengmeng and let her sit in his arms. He held her hand gently and asked, "Are you really not going to forgive Leah?" Gu Mengmeng shook her head and said, "He is not the one at fault, he does not need my forgiveness." Elvis, "Not him." Gu Mengmeng, "Yes, not him, it's me." Elvis sighed and asked, "Because you can't mate with him?" Gu Mengmeng nodded. Elvis, "Xiao Meng, what exactly are you worried about? If it's because of me." Gu Mengmeng shook her head and smiled bitterly, "It's not because of you, it's because I can't get over the hurdle in my heart." Aside from the topic, calm down, everyone calm down. Didn't I give you all the procedures previously? It's almost done, the darkness before dawn is the darkest. Chapter 478. Gu Mengmeng leaned into Elvis's arms and quietly watched her 4 sons bathe in the water. However, her thoughts drifted back to a long time ago. It was also in this stream that a vixen hugged her and confessed to her, "In my name, I swear to the beast deity that from today onwards, only you will be my deity, my life, my everything." Oh no. Gu Mengmeng snapped back to her senses. Gu Mengmeng looked over and saw Oakley. Gu Mengmeng had not seen him for a long time and had almost forgotten about him. "What is it? Speak slowly." Oakley's character was similar to Lee's. He would not usually be this anxious, but the more anxious he was, the more he had to speak slowly. Otherwise, he would definitely be stuck and unable to speak. Oakley was so anxious that he kept stomping his feet. He paced 2 to 3 rounds on the spot before catching his breath. Leah has gone up the platform of the deity's punishment and wants to burn himself to apologize to the beast deity. Gu Mengmeng was stunned, and before she could think, she had already started running towards the platform of the deity's punishment. Elvis transformed into a beast and grabbed onto Gu Mengmeng's dress with his mouth, flinging her onto his back. Gu Mengmeng did not struggle. In terms of speed, there was no way she could beat Elvis. In just a few breaths' time, Elvis had already reached the bottom of the platform of the deity's punishment. His 4th-level beast's full speed was comparable to a high-speed rail, and his instantaneous burst of speed showed that he was also very worried about Leah. When Gu Mengmeng arrived, she saw a small bonfire burning in front of Leah. Leah was adding firewood inside, as if he wanted to make the fire burn even bigger. Under the platform of the deity's punishment, there were a few people lying in a disorderly manner. At a glance, he saw Barit, Colin, and a few other familiar faces, but he couldn't recall their names. The injuries on their bodies were not fatal, but they were enough to prevent them from standing up and obstructing him. "Leah, what are you doing?" Gu Mengmeng shouted as she walked towards the platform of the deity's punishment. Lee's body stiffened, but he did not turn back. He only said quietly, "You don't even want me anymore, why are you still here?" Gu Mengmeng said, "You don't want to live because of a woman. What about your ambition when you founded Saint Nazaire? Don't want it anymore. Where is your determination to defend Saint Nazaire? You don't want it anymore. What about vengeance against those who have wronged you? You gave up too." Lee's hand paused in the act of adding more firewood, but he still threw a piece of firewood into the small fire pit. "If destroying these things you mentioned can allow me to go back in time and return to the day when Elvis and I dueled, then, I am willing to slaughter the entire Saint Nazaire with my own hands and go back to that time. I would rather let Elvis kill me than let go of your hand at that time and cause today's irreversible situation." Leah glanced sideways at Gu Mengmeng. That pair of long and narrow eyes no longer had any trace of affection, only emptiness and despair was left. He said, "What a pity, we can't go back, isn't it? You will never forgive me. No matter what I do, how I beg, how I repent, you will never give me another chance. I don't even dare to dream of mating anymore. I just want to be a pet beast that can hug you, but you still want to push me far away. Meng Meng, if you really don't even have a place for me by your side, then don't save me. In a world without you, living is the greatest torture." Gu Mengmeng clenched her fists tightly and her lips turned pale. Principles or Leah, which was more important? The main point of all these was that she could not break through her own principles. She was greedy but refused to admit it. Chapter 479. Leah was taken aback and smiled sadly. "All I want is to have a place by your side, to be able to protect you. That's enough." Gu Mengmeng turned around and looked at Elvis. "Hubby, I want to keep a vixen at home, can I? I promise I won't mate with him, I promise that my love for you will not diminish. Can you accept having one more member in the family?" Elvis went forward and hugged Gu Mengmeng lightly. "I've accepted him long ago, have you forgotten?" Gu Mengmeng pounced into Elvis's arms and mumbled softly, "Hubby, I'm sorry, I'm still a fickle woman." "Xiao Meng, you're not." Elvis held on to Gu Mengmeng's shoulders and said, "There's something I've wanted to tell you for a long time. Do you still remember what Leah had said to you outside the cave? He said he can die protecting you on the battlefield, but he doesn't want to see you get hurt before he dies. My thoughts are the same. I can fight for you, I can die for you, but I don't want you to have no one to protect you after I die." Gu Mengmeng looked up at Elvis and said, "If I accept Leah as a member of our family, it will relieve you of your worries and allow you to die without any qualms when you meet with danger. Then I don't want him, I want you." Elvis was taken aback and said, I didn't mean that, I just wanted to say, it's a good thing to have one more person in the family to take care of you. Gu Meng Meng clenched her fists tightly and didn't say a word, just staring at Elvis. Elvis hugged Gu Meng Meng in his arms and sighed, I won't die so easily, you know how much I can't bear to leave you. Don't worry, don't be afraid, I won't give up the position of the first partner to anyone. Gu Meng Meng said, you promise? Elvis said, I swear to the beast deity, I will never leave you. Gu Meng Meng was satisfied and lowered her head. Elvis held on to Gu Meng Meng's shoulders and turned her around, then carried her up the platform of the deity's punishment. He pushed her lightly and said, go, if you don't go, Leah will really jump into the fire. Gu Meng Meng turned back to look at Elvis, full of guilt. But she still took a small step forward and extended her hand towards Leah. Leah, I'm here to bring you home. Lee's expression was blank, as if he could not believe his own ears. You, forgive me. Gu Meng Meng shook her head and said, between us, you are not the one at fault. I was the one who couldn't adapt to the rules here. I tortured myself, you and Elvis. My greatest concession is to let you become a member of my family, to give you love and care, to worship and rely on you, but I will not mate with you, and I will not give birth to any offspring for you. The title of beast pet may become a lifetime of shame for you. Even so, are you still willing to stay with a selfish female like me? Leah smiled. He staggered up and pulled Gu Meng Meng into his arms. Feeling his heart beating again after death, he said, I told you before, your selfishness is what I wished for the most. Gu Meng Meng's eyes were wide open. For the first time since the breakup, Gu Meng Meng returned Lee's hug. She was so careful and conflicted. But when her hands really touched him, she suddenly felt at ease. She accepted Leah, but the sky did not fall. Let's go home, Daddy Leah. As you wish. Digression, are you happy? Ha! Aren't you going to say that you love me? You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.